My earliest memory is in the Unitarian church that we were part of. I couldn't have been over 2. And all of a sudden, in the midst of it, I had an overwhelming sense of God's presence and light in the room and of deep love and peace. We were Presbyterian for a while. My mother was a seeker before there were seekers. And then we were Jewish, and I was bat mitzvahed. I was actually deeply formed by the temple. I grew to really love the liturgy and the chanting and that deep sense of mystery. And what I have continued to look for are the places where I have a sense of God's mystery. My real theological education was managing a bookstore for 9 years out in Berkeley for 9 seminaries and a Jewish Studies Center and a Buddhist Studies Center. After the bookstore, I came to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and I was asked to manage a publishing company, Morehouse, which is the largest Episcopal publishing company, and spent 9 years doing that before I left to go and write my own stuff. So that's what I'm doing right now. I have lived with animals my entire life, and we now have 6 cats and 2 dogs, which keeps us busy and hopping. For me, the spiritual relationship with animals is a covenanted relationship. After the flood, God covenanted not only with Noah, but with all of the animals. And God asks us to continue that covenant. In Genesis, God talks about giving people dominion over the animals, but what that means really is the kind of dominion that a shepherd has with their sheep. It is to care for and nurture and keep safe and protect and love. I believe we are called to minister to the animals, to love them deeply, let them minister to us. A lot of people just think of animals as, it's just a cat, the word just being a big one. Well, they aren't just a cat. God loves everything God created. But there is a strong sense in our culture that animals are just critters for our use. A lot of people say the words pet owners, and there are probably difficulties with both of those words in some ways. Pet's not really a bad word, and I don't have a problem with it, except that too many people say it's just a pet. So I talk about animal companions more often than I do pets, recognizing that there's a deep bond. The word owner I really don't like at all. We don't own these animals any more than we own our children. They are God's gifts to us. I think the most important thing for me about the animals is that everything we do with them is part of our covenant. We train them because it is part of the covenant, just like we train our children. We feed them, it's part of the covenant. We take them to the vets for their care because it's part of the covenant. We play with them, which is one of the great parts of the covenant. But there's everything that we do with an animal, from choosing the right one at the beginning, one that we can care for as God would care for it, all the way through to caring for it at the death of the animal, is part of our covenant. And it's a great joy, and it's a gift.